Hello, hello, hello. All right. So, again, I have no idea what's going on with Facebook. I was able to do like a little snippet. I don't know if y'all saw it, of like just me kind of like popping my head and like dancing back and forth. And then it like went dark. And then it was like, your account has been temporarily restricted and unusual activity. So, I don't know. I'll try and figure it out for next week, I guess. Or if not, come next week, what I'll do is I'll just go live on YouTube, and then I'll just post the link to the Facebook page. So I don't know. We'll work it out some kind of way. But regardless as to what it is, thank you all for who's tuning in, whoever you are out there in Cyberland. Really, really, really appreciate it. Again, I am Angel Allen with Allen Nonprofit Accounting, and we do nonprofit accounting as our name suggests. So today on Nonprofit Tuesday, we will be discussing restricted funds. So, what are restricted funds? When you, as a nonprofit, you receive funds from donors, the funds can be restricted or unrestricted. Unrestricted funds essentially means I'm going to give money to your nonprofit and you can use those funds for anything that you need to use them for, as long as it's for the operation of running your nonprofit. So you can use it for programming, you can use it for payroll, you can use it for overhead, anything that has the nonprofit to actually be in operation. Restricted funds are quite opposite. It's restricted funds, right? So essentially, when you have restricted funds, what that means is that the person giving the money or the donor says, okay, I'm giving you X amount of money and you have to use it for X reason, right? So, for example, let's say I give money to your organization. I say, okay, I have $50,000 that I'm donating to you, and I want you to use it for computers, right? So your nonprofit, you needed computers, and I say, okay, I'm giving you $50,000 to go out and buy computers for your computer lab, let's just say, right? So that means you can only use the funds that I gave you, the $50,000, to buy computers, computer peripherals, and things like that. So you can't pay payroll with that money. You can't go out and you can't buy anything other than the oh, I got something in my mouth. I'm sorry. You can't go out and you can't buy anything other than something computer related because that's what I gave it to you for. Now, how do you know that funds are restricted? So usually when you write, if it's a grant, if you when you write for the grant, you'll actually tell them what you need the money for, and then they'll grant it to you for those purposes. Whenever you're granted funds, then they give you a letter and it'll say, okay, we're granting you X amount of dollars and this is what you can use it for. So as a nonprofit, you have a responsibility to use those funds only for the purpose in which they're granted to you for. Now, all of my clients know I recommend having a minimum of two accounts, three accounts if you have five employees or more. So if you're a nonprofit, I recommend you having a minimum of two accounts. The first account is like a general operating fund, just or a general operating account, and it's just for any purpose, right? So let's say the lady down the street gives you a check for $25 and said, oh, I want to help you to help your nonprofit. You take that $25 and you deposit it into that general account. And then I recommend the second account being a restricted account. So a restricted or program account. Some people call it program account. So the reason I recommend that is because those are the funds where all of your restricted funds will go into so that you can actually track them to see how much money is there. Now, if you get like a really huge amount of money, then I recommend you opening a third account just to manage those funds, right? So go to your banker, say, I need to open a third account. I'm getting a grant for $100,000 and, I want to be able to manage these funds separately. They open up the account. Once the $100,000 are spent, then you can close that account, and then you're back to just having the two accounts. Now, if you have 5 employees or more, and depending on your payroll service, right? So, again, depending on your payroll service, who it is that handles your payroll operations, then I recommend possibly having that third account. So again, this is dependent upon who your payroll service is. The third account is for you to be able to deposit your gross payroll along with all of your employer taxes, so that it's like a trust account and you know the funds are there when it's time to pay your taxes. Some payroll services, they take the entire gross amount plus the employer taxes, and then they keep it in a trust fund, and then they pay it, and then some payroll companies don't. It just depends on who you go with. So back to my original thing. So you have your unrestricted account and you have your restricted account. So I'm giving you money and you deposit the money into the restricted account. And then as you're making, or as you have expenses that are coming out of that restricted account, then all of those will be coming either from a check being written or you're using a debit card from the restricted funds that I gave you initially. So I have a couple of questions that were submitted and some Q&A type things for like clients had asked us in the past. So one of the questions that came up is, can only the donor restrict funds, right? So the answer to that is no. So you as a nonprofit, you can actually restrict your own funds, right? And the donor, the person giving the money, can actually restrict the funds, right? So it just depends, and that's more of like a conversation to be had. But nonprofit, like you can set aside like a portion of the general operating revenue for any reason that you want to, and then that would become like restricted funds. And then again, the donor can restrict those funds that they give you because they gave them to you so they can restrict them, right? All right. The next thing, what about unsolicited donations? So like these are donations where people like give money and don't have a reason for giving, right? So they're just like, oh, I like this nonprofit and I want to donate, right? So, and this means that you didn't specifically ask them for a donation. They like a check just comes in the mail for your organization. So if it's unsolicited and they don't write anything on like the memo line, or there's nothing like no type of letter or anything, then you can actually use those funds as unrestricted because they're just like supporting your organization. Now, it's different for like churches and things like that because churches, they usually have like different funds. Like you have your building fund, you have like the mortgage fund, you have like the pastoral funds and things like that. So when people give, then those funds would be restricted because they're actually giving towards those different programs or different categories. Now, one of the other things is like, like you get your envelope from the church, and then you can like mark the box, right? So usually what churches will do is if the person doesn't put like the amount next to it, then they'll just split it 3 ways and say, okay, well, let's say you give $100 and you check 4 boxes, then you're giving $25 to each of the funds. So that's that pretty much. Again, any questions on any of this, and just reach out to us, and we'll sit down and have a conversation with you so that we can figure out what needs to happen for you and for your organization. And all of our consultations are free. So the next thing, are the restrictions permanent? So meaning once they give the money, let's say like back in the case of my $50,000 that I gave you for computers, right? So you purchase computers, you get all the keyboards and you get mouses and you get screens and you get all the computer stuff, right? And then you only spend $30,000 and there's an additional $20,000 left. Can you use those funds for other things? The answer to that is no, unless you go back to me in writing and you say, thank you for your $50,000 donation. We purchased computers. Here's a picture of them. Here's a picture of our students on the computers. However it is that you do your thank you letters. And then you come back and you say, and we only spent $30,000. We wanted to know if we could use the additional $20,000 for XYZ, right? So let's say you need assistance with payroll. You need money for payroll. So you can say, can we use that additional $20,000 for payroll? Or if you just want to use it for general operating funds, which is what I actually recommend, is to say, oh, $20,000 was left. Can we use that for the operations of the nonprofit? And this is what it will go towards, right? It will go towards the services that we provide on a daily basis. It'll go towards payroll. It'll go towards the rent for our building. It'll go towards transportation for whatever purposes, right? So you're giving me examples, but you're not giving me like a specific as to what those additional $20,000 funds would be used for. And then you hold on to that money until I respond. And if I respond and I say, you know what? Yeah, you can use that. I really appreciate what you guys over there doing. I'm so excited about your organization. Please take the money and do with it whatever you need to do with it, right? Then the money then moves from restricted funds to unrestricted funds. Now, if I come back and I say, no, I really just wanted to go towards computer because I'm really passionate about computers, right? Then that money needs to stay in the restricted funds. Now, what you can also do, or what I may say is, since you only needed $30,000, you can send my $20,000 back. Most donors don't do that, but I mean, anything is possible, right? So if that's the case, then you just write me a check for $20,000 and you send my $20,000 back along with a thank you. Always want to send a thank you. Always. I mean, I don't care if somebody gives you $5, you send a thank you, right? So you send my $20,000 back and you send a thank you, card, letter, however it is that you're thanking your donors. Now, if I come back and I say, well, why don't you just hold on to the funds to see if you'll need computer repairs or something like that in the future, then those funds remain restricted and you can only use them for computer purposes. Now, so that's how, to deal with like, are the funds restricted? Are they permanently restricted? And so on and so forth. Another way to deal with restricted funds, and this is a question that a client asked, is how to deal with funds as far as like when you're fundraising, right? So let's say you're having a fundraiser and it's for a program, and it's like, okay, again with the computer example, we're raising funds to purchase computers, right? So we're doing like what's it called when you're in the like little, we're having a carnival, right? So we're at this carnival and we're like, oh my gosh, we're raising money in order to get in the carnival. It costs money, and then that money is going towards us buying computers for the kids in our program. So, and then you buy tickets for the games, and then you buy tickets for the rides and all of that stuff, right? So all of that money is going to the fundraiser, and all of that money, because we said all of that money was going to go towards buying computers, then we restrict the funds as people are giving. Now, in order to avoid the headache when fundraising, what you want to do is you want to let everyone know that yes, we're purchasing computers with this, and we're also using these funds for general operations, meaning you can put a cap on it. You can say, okay, all the funds up to $20,000 will be used to purchase computers. Anything over and above that, then we're going to use those funds for general operations. Or when you put out your advertising, you can say, we're raising funds for computer purchase and for general operations of our organization. So that's the biggest way to avoid any type of headache when you're raising funds and you want to be specific, but you also want to make sure that you're able to use additional funds for your nonprofit and running your nonprofit in the long run. So I think that was all the questions that I had here. Let me see. Da, 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 da. Yep. Got that one, got that one, got that one. Got that one, got that one. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I think I got them all. So essentially, those were all the questions that I've answered. If you have any questions, then definitely drop something down below and I'll jump on and I'll respond and answer those questions. But essentially, remember that restricted funds are just that. They're restricted for a reason. So you want to make sure that you're using the funds, you're being financially responsible, you're operating your organization in integrity, and you're keeping track of everything. When I say everything, I mean every receipt, every donor letter. Sorry, thought I was gonna sneeze here. Every receipt, every donor letter, every purchase that you make, every email that's sent. Like, you want to keep meticulous documentation. And you want to get some sort of an accounting system to keep that all in, so that if the person who gave you the funds want a report of where their money went, you should have that at all times. You should be able to tell me if I call you and I say, hey, out of that $50,000 I gave you, how much you got left? You should be able to tell me right there. If I say, can you send me a report of everything you purchased? I want to see the receipt. Then you should be able to print it off right there. You should be able to send me a file and say, okay, here's all the purchases that we made. Here's the deposit from where you gave us the money, and this is how much we have left. That should be at all times. Whenever you receive restricted funds, you should track it, and track it some more. Again, if you have any additional questions or anything like that, just hit me up down below. And Llama is like across the room because I reorganized my office. You see, like, my flowers are gone. I'm not going to put them back up. I think I'm going to do something different. I don't know. What do you think I should do? What should I put behind me? Ta-da! I have no idea. Anyway, yeah. So again, Angel Allen Nonprofit Accounting. And if you have any questions, then just let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all next week, where we will be talking about fiscal agents. Ooh, the fun of fiscal agents. All right. Thank you so much. I love you all. I love you. And happy Nonprofit Tuesday.